Hello pond people, Frogopolis here, and today I would like to talk about The Loved Ones, a movie I remember watching with my friends 15 years ago. 15 years. Oh god, I'm old. I kinda remember liking it back then, and I saw it was on Shudder, so I decided to check it out and see if it still holds up. The Loved Ones has a rather striking introduction. We're introduced to our main character Brent and his father as they're just hanging out in the car, driving and having fun. When suddenly they see a disheveled, bloodied man swerve to avoid him and hit a tree. We're taken to 6 months later and we find out that the father unfortunately didn't survive. We're now with Brent and his friend Jamie at school. It's prom time, or the end of year dance, I think that's what they call it in Australia. I don't know anything about Australia. Brent's going with his girlfriend, of course, but Jamie decides to shoot his shot with the local goth girl, and he succeeds. Good for him. Brent's a popular guy though, because the loner at school, Lola, goes up to him and asks him out, which he politely declines. Brent and his girlfriend Holly are talking to each other, and they're just kinda doing it while having a casual conversation. They're teasing each other as he mentions that somebody asked him out to prom but won't tell her, and she keeps asking and they're flirting with each other. And oh hey, look at that, it's Lola just staring in creepily. They're too busy to notice though. When Holly drives Brent back home, they talk a bit about their plans for the dance, and then Brent finally tells her that it was Lola Stone who asked him out. This scene also shows that Brent is having trouble connecting to people emotionally, as he doesn't say I love you when Holly does. Where the movie takes a turn is when Brent gets into an argument with his mother and he leaves the house and goes to his quiet place. I do wish that Brent's relationship with his mother was expanded on a bit more, especially since they're both dealing with the death of a loved one. Though I do understand why they wanted to portray Brent as distant and his mother as seemingly overprotective, at least to him. Unfortunately, things are just gonna go from bad to worse for him because he gets kidnapped. It is important to note that Brent had brought his dog with him, who unfortunately does get injured, but does go for help. So there's a complete tone shift when we get to the B plot of the movie, which is Jamie and Maya's date. This does serve a purpose, as it's used to juxtapose to what's happening with Brent and give the movie a little levity, which, trust me, is going to be very appreciated. Though soon after we're reminded of the dark reality of this situation, as the dog has made it back home but is gravely injured. This scene is very impactful. Brent's mom, Carla, and his girlfriend Holly, who was over there to talk to Brent, had both come to the realization that Brent had not communicated with either of them, and then when the dog showed up injured and alone, they knew something was very wrong. The fear and confusion they have, along with the amount of guilt the mother must feel, is very evident here. Maya's dad is part of law enforcement, and is the first person Carla calls when she notices that something is very wrong. Okay, let's talk about Brent's school dance from hell. Robin McAlevey as Lola in this movie is brilliant in this role. She's easily the best part of the movie. And then we have John Brompton as her dad, and they both work so well off each other. Both characters are just so genuinely unnerving and psychotic. From the moment they open the trunk to the moment they bring him into the house and tie him to the chair, the atmosphere is wonderfully uncomfortable. They are not subtle in how evil these two are and how much danger Brent is in. Especially when the first thing you see is an elderly woman sat at the table who looks very much out of it and has a hole in her head. This is Lola's mother, and they call her Bright Eyes. There's some very disturbing implications here, but don't worry, it gets worse. I probably cannot describe the horrible shit that Brent goes through, but I can use some of the details to give you an idea. Not to sound hyperbolic, but there are a few scenes I had trouble sitting through when watching this movie again for the review. There's a needle, there's multiple knives, there's a hammer, there's bleach, they literally pour salt on his wounds. and Lola gives him a DIY tattoo. Brent is rendered mute shortly after being brought to their house, and it's about as horrific as you can imagine. This leaves Brent only able to communicate and react through body language, and he's very good at it. It's all pretty gnarly. Anyway, how about some fried chicken? Lola tries to feed Brent the chicken, and he's not exactly enthusiastic about it. But when her dad brings out a hammer, suddenly he has an appetite.
Is it finger licking good?
Then we have a scene involving a cup that will make you hate milk. Brent does manage to break free, and he does get away for a moment, but then they chase him up a tree with a car and throw rocks at him. Jesus Christ, this movie. Then they make sure that he can't get away again, and yep, those are those hammers and knives I was talking about. Brent has one of the most haunting screams I've ever heard in a movie, but it is important to note that he is not giving in to her bullshit. This is depressing. What else is happening in the movie? The police are checking where Brent was last and find his Walkman, solidifying to his mother that something terrible has happened. God damn it. Back with Brent, he's learning all about Lola as she shows him a scrapbook. And it's her as a kid, and of people that are probably dead, and all the boys she's made disappear, and God, this isn't much better. This scene helps put into perspective just what is happening to the guys that are going missing in the town. We see newspaper clippings about them that Lola has been collecting, and we also see the guy from the beginning of the movie, who is the one who escaped. Though, considering what they've been through and what Brent is going through, I don't think he lasted very long. You're only given so much information about Lola and her family and why she's doing this, which is fine. Really, I think over-explaining it would have taken away from just how terrifying it is. Things aren't looking too great for Brent. I wonder how Jamie's date is going. Jamie and Mia get blotzo in the car while listening to rock music. Though there is an underlying theme of Mia doing this to get away from her troubles, and we'll learn more about that near the end. It does all come full circle. Back to hell, Brent gets a tattoo, and it doesn't look very good. Then they start throwing salt on him, and this is the moment where I was watching this and thinking, this movie is very well acted, the pacing's pretty good, I love the atmosphere, but is it just excess? I know I'm saying this as somebody who's watched the Terrifier movies and other things like that, but this is grounded in realism enough that I can kind of stop and think about it a bit more. When does it stop being scary and just indulgent? I wish the storytelling was a little more balanced, so scenes like this were more effective instead of just, oh, here they go again. Back at the school dance, Jamie and Maya are dancing. Maya gets a little too handsy because they're both pretty wasted at this point, and they get kicked out. I am glad that they played this scene a bit more serious than comedic, emphasizing that Maya isn't in a good place mentally and is acting impulsively. There is some good news though. We go to the other school party and find out who Queen of the Dance is. Oh, he's opening the envelope. The suspense is killing me. It's Lola! After much celebration, you know there has to be some dancing. Lola initially dances with Brent, but he doesn't really have his heart in it, so she decides to dance with her dad instead. Not to go back to that word again, but this is as uncomfortable as you can imagine. We see a scene of Maya's dad talking to Holly, saying that they're doing everything they can to find Brent. She has a short but effective scene where she calls her mother, who is overseas along with her father, and they don't catch her call. She hangs up and just cries at the weight of the situation. Back at the party from hell, Lola and her dad open up this hatch in the floor, throw a dead possum in it where we hear animalistic growling, and then they close the hatch again. That doesn't sound good at all. We're back with Jamie and Maya, and they seem to have gotten over their awkward situation where they celebrate prom night, which, considering how their night has gone, I have mixed feelings about. With the party coming to a close, there's only one thing left for Lola and her dad to do, which is drill a hole into Brent's head and try to turn him into a zombie. Yeah, if you're wondering what happened to the missing guys and the mom, which gives even more horrifying implications, this is it. They're gonna do that and then chuck him into the zombie hole. They do start the process, but you see, Brent's not gonna go out without a fight. He's been working on undoing his ties this whole time. His necklace has a little razor on it. Now this sad reminder of his depression and pain is now saving his life. He breaks free and attacks the dad, and the music just starts pounding. It's awesome. After a bit of a fight, the dad gets pushed into the zombie hole and gets eaten. Well, these guys aren't exactly zombies, they've just been lobotomized, but it's equally horrific. Shortly after though, Lola comes up from behind and pushes him into the pit too. Brent then has to fight off the other guys, and I hate to say it, but it's kinda funny. He's stuck down there now though, and that's quite the pickle. What's happening with Jamie and Maya? Jamie gets her home safely, and it's really nice. Good for Jamie. Not so nice is Lola smothering her mom in a fit of anger. We also find out that Maya's brother was one of the guys that went missing. Told you it would come full circle. We're back with Holly, and Holly remembers that Lola had asked him out to prom. She calls Maya's dad and relays this information to him. Then he gets in his police car and goes to Lola's place on his own, which never works out well in like any movie. Gee whiz, would you look at that? He gets in there, he starts looking around, hears Brent throwing stuff and yelling, and then Lola hits him with a cleaver. As revenge for killing her father, Lola's going to kill Brent's girlfriend and mother. She doesn't seem to know how to drive, so she just starts walking to his house. She's shown to be living in the middle of nowhere, so it's going to take her a while to walk all the way there. While she's doing this, Holly is driving to her house, and that's going to save her a lot of time. Lola tosses her scrapbook at Holly's car to stop her, flings open the passenger door, and now Holly's in a fight for her life. But goddamn if she doesn't kick Lola right in the face. Back with Brent, he's figured out how to get out of the pit, as he has piled all the bodies on top of each other, climbed on top of them, and got himself out. He then gets in the police car and goes speeding off to go save his mom and girlfriend. This sequence is so cool. He's speeding off in the car, and Lola's still chasing after Holly with the knife. Then Brent sees Holly, swerves to miss her, and then runs over Lola. Holly reunites with Brent, and it's all very sweet, but you know Lola's not quite done yet, as she is crawling along the ground using her knife as leverage. So they stick the car in reverse and back up right over her. With Lola dead, they're able to get in the car and drive off in silence, understandably traumatized by what's happened. They get back to Brent's house and he sees his mother. She embraces Brent and Molly. Brent closes his eyes, knowing that he is now safe. Then the movie ends. While someone could watch this movie and probably just chalk it up to shock value, I do think there is a lot of great characters and acting here. We have the story of a guy who's at the lowest point in his life, being put into a horrifying situation, making it through sheer willpower and the help from people who love him. His path ahead is not going to be easy, but I do think there are signs of hope. Really, my biggest problem with the movie is that I wish some parts were expanded on a bit more, and we didn't need so much of the school dance with Jamie and Maya. It's definitely good to have a break from all the horrible stuff happening to Brent, but that could have been spent exploring more of how Lola's actions, even though they don't know it's her at that moment, have affected the town. There are multiple missing boys, and that could have been looked into more. Though that might just be personal preference. I imagine they don't want to over-explain things though, and that's fine. I do think they did a great job at showing the lasting effects of losing a loved one, especially to a freak accident. Sometimes the world is just random and cruel, but it can also be equally as loving. The Loved Ones isn't for everybody, but I think there's a lot of good stuff here. I just wish the overall story was a bit better told. I still recommend it. Like, if you've watched up until now and you thought, yeah, I'm a sicko too, let's check that out, then yeah, I'll be giving The Loved Ones a 3.5 out of 5. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, like and subscribe or leave a little comment. Either way, I'm just happy you stopped by, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.